Film is a disease, Frank Capra said. When it infects your bloodstream, it takes over as the number one hormone. It plays Iago to your psyche. As with heroin, the antidote to film is more film.
Chip used to idolize me. Then he started working for me, and then he didn't idolize me anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? Not idolize me, look up to me as a big brother or whatever. And then we just, we were thick as thieves, and we're always hanging out and playing games and fighting lightsabers with the brooms and breaking my dad's brooms and not telling him until later. And playing A-Team in my dad's van and all kinds of good stuff. So, like, I don't have a brother, and you're as close to a brother as, we'll ever get. So we're close friends, and we're good brothers and brothers, cousins, and friends, as that one episode was.
Yes.
So this is Chip, and you've heard him before, but I thought I'd give him a little introduction. And now he's gaming on Facebook, and he is working on a book, which is very good. I've heard all of it. I get it read by him. You guys will get it read by, like, Christopher Walken or something.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I don't know, with that Christopher Walken way of talking, and you're like, wait, no, you didn't say that right.
Well, see, and here's my thing, though, is that, if I don't get the book done in time, Christopher Walken could pass away. I need to actually get the book done.
Yeah, it's like, I was listening to Joe Merle's other podcast, IHOH, International House of Horrors. They were talking about how, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name from Edward Scissorhands. The old man, he died. It's on the tip of my tongue. He created Edward Scissorhands.
You can't hear me, but I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, Chip shook his hand because he doesn't know Edward Scissorhands. Are you fucking kidding me? Joe Merle is yelling at me right now. Vincent Price. I knew the name Vincent, and Price was not entering my head. I'm so sorry to everyone. Vincent Price. He got to work with Vincent Price like a couple times. So if you're lucky, you get to work with those people before they die. So, and then you get all the stories. Like Dax Shepard was telling a story about Burt Reynolds told, and when they were on Without a Paddle and all this cool stuff. And just behind the scenes thing that I'd love to just sit with some actor and be like, tell me some behind the scenes shit,
Oh yeah. So, if I did a book and they were basically saying that, oh, we got Christopher Walken to do your book and read it, everything, I would be there for just for the recording, just like, yay.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to touch his hair, be like, can I feel that hair that looks like Don King's hair?
Yeah.
Let me do that.
I've told you, he said, you put raw eggs, wash your hair with raw eggs. That's what he got from another name I'm fucking blanking. Norman Bates. Norman fucking Bates. And again, Joe Merle's yelling at me. Fucking Norman Bates. Anthony Perkins. See, my brain's not dead yet. I'm 48, but I got it. Took me a little bit. Anthony Perkins is, he told him, like, this is how I keep my hair good, is I wash with eggs. So he washed it with eggs, his hair.
Well, you always hear different things from him, though. He tells other people, oh, you just pull on your hair. You pull on it to keep it.
I've seen that, like, I think in the 70s they would do hair, things like that. But anyway, I don't know where we're going on this thing. But where can people find you in the Facebook world?
Well, the Facebook gaming, basically just looked up the Chipness Gaming. I just started, so if you go check it out, there are probably, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 VODs, videos on demand to watch of me playing before. There were a couple early ones that the sound was way off, so I deleted those. So,
yeah, cool. And then you're working on a book and all that, and we talk movies. Although, when I said, what should we do the show on? You said, I don't want to watch your fucking Last Starfighter or whatever that is. He didn't even know what that was either. He's like, Alex who, Mags who. I was like, you motherfucker.
What's with all the brouhaha?
I was like, how about Ready Player One? He's like, who's Steven Spielberg? I was like, motherfucker, I thought we were brothers, but not now.
Steven Spielberg peaked at Jaws.
No. This coming from a guy who saw Jaws for the first time 2 months ago. We were going to do that. We were going to do a gaming episode. I said that would work out perfect. And then we started thinking about, for one, there's not much time. For two, I waited too long to be like, oh, yeah, my show comes out on Wednesday. Let's hurry up and record a show on Monday morning. And there was no way that we were going to watch both of those movies. And I don't like just going, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to tell you what Last Starfighter is all about. And then you'll be like, what about that robot? And I'll be like, what robot? And you'll be like, you fucking forgot the most stupidest part. No, it was cool. So we have all kinds of ideas, but today we just thought that we'd just discuss movies or what I've been watching. And so now that we've gone several minutes into the show, if you don't know what my show is about, welcome to my Celluloid Heart podcast. It's a podcast where I take two films and I bring them together with one topic or theme with trivia to go with it. And there will be spoilers in this episode. So even though we're just talking movies, there's going to be spoilers because I'm talking about what I've been watching at the movies and at home. And today's episode, I guess we figured we'd call it Rambling Cinema because that's what we're going to be doing, just rambling about shit.
Mm-hmm.
So let me start on this, and then we'll go off on tangents because that's what our idea was for this whole thing.
And it's what we do. Well, it's what he does.
Well, yeah, exactly. Do you remember a show called Dark Night of the Scarecrow? It was a movie from 1981. I mentioned this to you over the phone, and I heard crickets, so I knew that maybe you didn't. But for those who are old enough, like my cousin and me, but maybe not even my cousin, there was a show called L.A. Law.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a guy on there who's kind of a big guy. Everybody else knows him from Darkman, and he was a bad guy in Darkman.
Mm.
He was... played this mentally challenged guy who was playing with this little girl, and she goes over into this person's yard because she sees some flowers, and this dog attacks her, and the guy comes running up, our hero, whatever, is carrying her, and he carries her to her house, and says, help, help. Story gets around town because people think that he hurt her because everybody's going, he's going to do something weird. And all of a sudden they're like, he was with the bloody girl. He killed her. He hurt her. So all of a sudden.
Very much a Frankenstein situation.
Exactly. So then they go after him and they kill him. Charles Durning is in it. They kill him. Then he comes back to life and kills everyone who killed him. And it turns out the girl didn't die. She was just injured, but she's okay. So then she's like, oh, hey. But anyway, it was really good. It was from 1981. I grew up with it, so I remember seeing it on TV. And I was like, that was really cool. But from the blank expression on your face, we'll go to the next one, which you do have a story about, which I still don't know if you've seen the full thing all the way through. But the wife wanted to see The Shining because we were going to go see Dr. Sleep, which we never got to go see, but because we were too lazy. I was like, honey, it's 9:30. Let's just keep sleeping.
There's that, and we have Disney Plus now. Fuck everything else.
Oh, my God. I'll get to that in a minute, which is crazy. So, The Shining, my wife had seen it, but she didn't remember it. And she was like, okay, I want to see it so we can go into Dr. Sleep. So she saw it. She watched it. She thought it was good. I said, was it too drawn out for you? What she didn't like was that Shelley Duvall, there's a name, see, I did it, carries a knife like this, facing the sky, and she's like, ah. And my wife's like, no, she needs to hold it like down, like in a stabbing motion. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I said, she goes,
you want me to stab like stabbing motion?
Yeah, no, just once, not 3 times. And she goes, she said, that was at the end that she was screaming and freaking out. And I'm like, yeah.
Pulp Fiction, people.
Oh, yeah. They all got that. It's a movie show.
I hope so. I mean,
as Joe Merle would say on his show, it's a movie show. Yes. Yeah, I need to do Pulp Fiction sometime on my show. But anyway, The Shining is great. Have you ever got to finish the whole thing? You said when you were real little, that you saw the blood coming out of the elevator, and that was it.
Well, that was because my sister had a nice little party, had all of her friends over from down the street, and she's supposed to be babysitting me. I'm like,
you would have been like 7 or something, yeah.
Yeah, and so my face is buried into the couch.
Yeah.
Not wanting to look, and I looked at the worst possible moments of this movie, when the blood is coming down in an ocean of oh my god, saw that and I was like, put my face back in, and then I know the next one was that made me not want to look in a shower.
Oh yeah,
it was the old lady thing. Yeah, so those are the two things that I saw. And then the brother of one of the girls from downstairs bangs on the window at the worst possible damn time. The girls all scream. I scream. I go running in my bedroom. And
the end.
It took forever for me to actually watch The Shining.
That's you're the thing for me. Like I had the thing, you had The Shining.
Yep.
No, that scene where the girl, you're like, oh, this is a beautiful girl. She's naked. I like it. And oh, she's hugging him. Oh, and then all of a sudden he sees her in the mirror and her back's all gross, and he's like, huh? And then all of a sudden it's like, ah, yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah, so great. So then here's where I draw on blank faces, except for Joe Merle listening, is Out of the Past from 1947, which is really good. It's got Robert. I knew that was coming, that I fucking blank on it. It's got the guy from Night of the Hunter.
See, you gotta paraphrase. I mean, you gotta make this a little tighter, because you're like, Out of the Past from 1947. I'm like, what? What's Out of the Past from 1947?
I see. Okay.
You're not telling me that's the title.
Yeah, I'll restart it then. So I saw The Shining, and so I saw a movie called Out of the Past, was on Criterion Collection on Channel. I believe that's where it is. And it's got Robert Mitchum in it. Thank you for making me restart, remember. It's got Robert Mitchum, and it's a really good film noir. It might be one of my favorites. There's other favorites, but it was really good. I really liked it. Had good acting in it, had good stuff. Sure. Then, maybe I saw that in Turner Classic Movies, because then I'm looking through Turner Classic Movies on their app on my Roku, and I find a movie called The Thrill Hunter. Mm-hmm. And it's from 1933. And I'm like, what is this? And I've never heard of the actors in it.
Okay, people, now you understand that he's pulling out all these movies that he knows I don't know, so that he could do all the talking.
No, not really. I'm getting to movies that you know very well. This just happens that we said, what are we going to do the show about? You said, how about I read my movies and you talk? And you said, okay. It just so happens that I watch some old movies that my cousin doesn't really care for. He's like my wife. That acting seems like a cardboard.
Yeah. Except for Rope. Rope was badass.
Yes, it was. But The Thrill Hunter and His Girl Friday, hopefully you liked. I like that. No, I brought it right here. I came in through the door. Where'd you come from? No, I never got it. Yeah, you did. I just gave it to you. How much does that pay? My kids, too. Anyway. So Thrill Hunter was just like a throwaway. It was like an hour-long movie. But it had this actor who was kind of sad because, like, 9 years later, he would die in a fire from trying to save a bunch of people at a club, and the whole thing caved in on him, and he succumbed to his, burns and everything. And it was interesting to watch, like, oh, this guy's full of life, and then to go, oh my gosh, and somebody that you don't know very well that you're going, oh wow, this guy was somebody for, he's like a hero, riding horses and doing all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're getting to Chip's cup of tea because it's all about gayness. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. So I didn't realize this until I was listening to International House of Horrors, and they were talking about how Freddy's Revenge, because I hadn't seen it since I used to own the videotape, I think, of that movie. I never had the first one, but I had the second one, and I would watch that because that was like one of the first videos I had, so I'd just watch it over and over.
Yeah.
But even at the time, I didn't realize how gay it was.
Yeah.
The main actor ends up really being gay.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up, when he's in the dream, he goes to this gay club.
Oh, wow.
His teacher is there. His gym teacher's there. and his gym teacher dressed in leather, and then takes him home with him, or takes him back to the school, ties him up with like jump ropes and stuff, or is gonna spank him, do whatever, or do something with him. But then all of a sudden, Freddy makes him get tied up. It's not really Freddy; it's that guy becoming Freddy, the kid. But then the guy gets strung up, his pants get pulled down, and he gets whipped. From this teacher does, and you're going, what the fuck is going on? This is not my Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow.
And so, and then there was a whole killing, like the pool party. That was from 1985, that movie. It doesn't seem like that long ago. It seems like we just had like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, it's so weird how quick those go.
Well, and what's weird though is you're talking about the gay stuff, and then for whatever reason, my brain is going to Police Academy. The bar.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's where they
in my brain going, wow.
Yeah. Well, and they could do all that stuff back then. Where now it's like, oh, could we do that? Could we get away with that? No, can't do that. But yeah. And then just a real quick one to throw in here. I saw Motherless Brooklyn in between these, and that was the Ed Norton directed.
How was that?
It was good. It wasn't great, but definitely worth a rent. And Bruce Willis is pretty cool in it, and it's a cool little, he's got Tourette's, but his brain is sharp, so he's got to do weird things. But then it's really cool.
Well, and I wasn't sure because like some of the stuff that I've like read about or little interviews or whatever with him, he seems very elitist.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, like sometimes the way that he talks about cinema stuff, kind of the whole
like the snobs type.
Yeah. And it was I read a few things and I was just like, I kind of understand a little bit why he was not the Hulk again.
Right.
That they needed somebody else.
Yeah. Well, he was saying that they were ready to do the Hulk, do a sequel, and then I forget what happened, but he said they asked him to write it and do all this stuff, and then it just kind of fell apart. And so he's like, but I love that they got Mark Ruffalo. Like, I love him. Him and I are friends. Like, we came up together and all this stuff. Yeah. But no, he was talking about like Motherless Brooklyn. He puts it together with like it goes with Chinatown or LA Confidential. It's one of those kind of crime thrillers. So it's pretty good. Then I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Now, I loved, when I first saw this in the theater, and again, I just recently, my wife bought me all these movies, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen these since like, most of them since I saw them in the theater. Dream Warriors I remember seeing, and I was like, that was so cool that they dream about what they want to be, and then they're their alter egos or whatever their strengths are, And then that the girl from True Romance, that she can bring everybody into her dream. So she has the power to be like, Nancy. And then all of a sudden Nancy's in her dream going, what the fuck? Wait, what's going on? So all that was cool. And then they brought Freddy back for the third one. So that was cool. And then I saw all these three together, which is fine. Because then I saw...
Right.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Dream Warriors.
So,
that was
cool.
the one. That was the one where he's the marionette guy.
Yeah. That was I loved the movie. It was just, I always had to like leave the room or whatever, because when he pulled the veins out to use him as a marionette, and to control him, that just like gave me the squirmy so bad, like almost to the point of convulsing my back. Cause I'm like, oh God. But that leads into something that I was telling my wife, because we were watching that new show on CBS app, the Evil.
Mm-hmm.
We've been watching that, and it got to a point where he was, she's having these dreams where this demon thing keeps appearing in her dreams, and she has like the night scare things where she's like frozen in her, she can't do anything, and it's like cutting off her fingers and stuff like that, and doing these things. And at some point, she talks to her doctor, and he's like, well, put a little piece of like thread or whatever around your wrist, a little twine thing, and if you look down and it's not there, then you're in your dream. And so she was like, oh, I'm in my dream. I can control my dream. And she was just like talking crap to him and whatever. And it still didn't go well at the end of that little bit. Still didn't go well for her.
Yeah.
But I was telling her how that happened for me. And she was like, wait, what? And I go, yeah, I took over one of my dreams. I said, for the longest time, my mom owned 2 bars, ran 2 bars and everything. And my dad would leave to go pick her up and everything, right? And so it would just be me and my sister at home at night or whatever until they got back after the bar closed down and everything. So I would have this dream where I would sit there at the edge of the couch where I could see down the hallway of my house, and somebody would break in through the last room, and all of a sudden they would come out and they would be wearing all black and a black ski mask, and they'd look down, see me, and start running towards me. And all of a sudden I would wake up every time. It was like I would wake up in like scared or whatever. And all of a sudden I just got to a point where I was just like, I can control my dreams. I don't know how it happened, but that dream came up. The person started to come towards me, and all of a sudden I stood up and I had a bat in one hand and like a sword or some weird crap in the other hand. And I just started beating the shit out of the guy. But then it got really like in my head, it became really action movie where all of a sudden ninjas looking dudes were jumping through the windows and coming through the doors, and I was beating them all up too. And it became a fun.
It wasn't a nightmare anymore.
Yeah. But I was controlling it. So I never had that dream again. After that happened, it was gone.
That's cool. Yeah, that was, you've told me that story. It's amazing. I remember when you still haven't seen Inception, but when he was promoting Inception, Christopher Nolan said, I would have these dreams, and he said, and I try to control my dreams. So if I wake up and I'm in a library, in my dream I'm in a library, he said, I'll go for a book and I'll open it and I'll try to read it to see what am I going to put in the book, what's going to be in this book. And he's like, and it's really fun to just, and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. And then you were like, yeah, I did that. And I'm like, fucker. But with that twine, Freddie'd fucking put a piece of twine there, and he'd be like, I'm not dreaming. And then he'd cut right out of your throat. So, or out of your chest or wherever.
Well, that was the fun part about Freddie is he would let you believe that things are getting better in your dream. He would kind of like play with you enough and then all of a sudden like, nope, just screwing with you.
Well, and that's what I love about this next one, number 4, Dream Master, which is from 88. And Dream Master was where my favorite fucking part of any Nightmare on Elm Street, probably a lot of people's, is that fucking truck. Come on, we got to go save him. And they get in the truck and they go to drive, and all of a sudden it goes back to, and Freddy's trying to kill this other person, but it keeps cutting back to them running to the truck again. And I remember going, is there something wrong with the film? Like, what's going on? I think the projector's broke. And then you're like, and then after 3 or 4 times of doing that, all of a sudden she's like, no, we're in a dream. And you're like, oh my God. And then they try to run down Freddy and he turns into a tree. And it's like, oh, fuck. It's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because for me, I hated that part because when it was on cable every time, I was like, oh, we're at this part again. I got to watch this 4 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit true because I think I remember when I bought that one. And whenever I would be like, oh, now I got to hurry up and get to it. But it's still the coolest, like, so cool. Then I saw Dream Child, which I didn't like as much, but it was still cool. That had the girl from, the black girl from Summer School, had her in it. The one that's trying to pass her driver's test.
Oh, yeah.
Had her in it. And... oh, wait a minute. Okay, no. I was like, wait a minute. Am I done yet? Wait a minute. There was... Breckenmeyer was in one of those. But yeah, I haven't got there yet.
Summer School. That was such a good movie.
That was a good movie. I love that movie. I love the... Texas Chainsaw is the best horror movie ever made. We like it very, 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 very much. 500 words exactly, sir, or whatever it was.
Yeah. You could check it.
Yeah. And then saw 12 Monkeys because on Popcorn Promises they did 12 Monkeys episode. So I saved it to my Prime to watch the movie. And then one day I come home and my wife, I'm in the bathroom. I'm taking a shower and I get out of the shower and it's in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to bed, but all of a sudden I hear this music, and I'm like, what are you watching? And it's that game that I love to play. What are you watching, honey? And I don't want to go in the room, but I want to see what she's watching. And I hear this music, and I'm like, what is it? And she's going, honey, do you know that in the future all the animals will rule the world? And I'm going, what the fuck is she watching? And then finally I think I stick my head in there, and I see Bruce Willis is hanging from something or whatever, and I'm like, oh, 12 Monkeys. I'm like, that's why I knew that music. And then I'm like, look at Brad Pitt, watch Brad Pitt. And he should have fucking won an award for that. She's like, he didn't win an award for that? I'm like, no. She goes, he's really good. I go, yeah, I know. His eyes all fucking crazy, and he's, oh.
Yeah, I used to love doing that. You'd make my eye go off to the side and be like, monkey, monkey, get it?
Yeah.
Like that. People are like, stop it. You're freaking me out.
No, that was so good. So yeah, so then we watched that, and I was, and she, I don't know if she, I think she, it's funny, she'll be watching a movie, and she'll still, like I said, she'll get it, but honey, you missed David Morse was there. He's like, let me open this. Do you want to smell it? He's sweating because he's like, I'm letting it, you know. It's like, oh my God, honey, it's so good. Like all that stuff. Like, look, honey, they're chasing each other. And then what Joe always likes to fuck with me is, so then what happened if he died right there? And I'm like, he just lived. That was his miserable life. He was born. The virus got spread. He went underground. He comes back, tries to save the future, gets killed. It's a vicious loop. So.
Well, here's my thing.
Okay.
I don't think there's ever been. Okay. I've never really been a huge Brad Pitt fan. Okay. But I have been completely in love with his little stints, his little pieces.
Little things that he does. Yeah.
Yeah. Like little, like not cameos, but just really small supporting moments. Right. Where he's the doing the monkey thing for that, and when he's
the true romance, like the
true romance,
man, yeah, fucking kill you, man. Yeah,
those are the moments that I'm just like fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
like who cares? Don't stop doing all these like major movies. You got to do these side things where you play these little characters that just build the moment. Like if that character wasn't there, sometimes those movies I was just like that. That kind of suck. Like this.
Well, it's those things where sometimes you wonder like how much do they put into it and how much was on the page.
Yeah.
Like we were talking to Edward Scissorhands. How much of that was on the page and how much was Johnny Depp just like, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this. Like, and same thing with Brad Pitt. Like it could have been like just, I got you fucking keys, man. And then he's like, I'm going to fucking really stone it up. I'm going to, and he's got a part like that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where he takes some, it's a joint dipped in like acid or something, and so he's smoking it, and then he's like, there's a second where he's like, he's kind of high, and it's a little bit of that, and you're like, oh, awesome. But yeah, no, that was good. Now, have you seen The Mandalorian, the second one? Did you watch it yet? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because now my list. We'll get back to Freddy after I go through 70 movies. So here's what's funny. So Chip goes, he said, we pay for Amazon, Hulu with no commercials. So that's like $11.99. And then we have, Amazon, Hulu, and, Netflix. And then I said, honey, I really want Criterion Channel. And that's $100 for the year. If you want to save money, you do the $100 a year. So I said, okay. So I got that. Then not a movie streaming service, but then I'm on a family plan with my brother-in-law, so I pay like $5.99 for the music, the Apple Music. So I get that. So I'm like, cool. So all of a sudden, I'm talking to Chip, and he's like, well, you're getting Disney Plus, right? He's like, because we could do like podcast episodes of just like, Unidentified Flying Oddball or Apple Dumpling Gang. And I'm like, yeah. I said, I don't know if I'm going to get it. And his jaw fell open, and he was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, what about The Mandalorian? I go, I don't know. We have a lot of streaming services. And he's like, but I can't, and I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. So then all of a sudden it comes like 2 days later, And I come home, and on the news is everybody, Disney Plus dropped today, and 10 million people just signed up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, honey, Chip wanted me to, he's telling me about this thing. And she's like, you take forever to look at what you want to watch, and you add things to your queue, and then you never watch anything. So your queue is huge, and your watch list is small. And I said, I agree. And then we're on, and I go, honey, and I feel like I told Chip, I said, I feel like it's just going to be kids stuff. Like, I don't want to watch kids stuff. Like, I like Star Wars. I like the Marvel stuff, but it seems like more Disney, like, for kids, and we don't have kids, and I don't need it. So then cut to that night, or that next morning, or maybe that same morning, I don't know. Joe Merle's like, oh, I'm watching Mandalorian before I go to work. I got to watch this. And then on his show, he's like, oh, man, it was 40 minutes long. It was so cool. I couldn't wait for his co-host to watch it. They always fill. And he's like, oh, man, it'd be so cool. And so then I'm like, honey, it's got a week. There's a week free thing. So I'm going to sign up for that just to look at it. And then we'll cancel it. And then also, but by this time when I'm starting to look at stuff, I'm going, maybe I should cancel the music thing and take that $6.99 and put it towards Disney. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know. So then my brother-in-law, right after I sign up, it goes through our Apple subscription. So being as I'm on his family plan, he writes me immediately, oh, you're on Disney Plus? How is it? I go, I just barely hit subscribe. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, well, my wife just got a thing where for her work through Verizon, they get a free year of Disney Plus. And he's like, and we'll just sign you up for it and put you on our thing, and you can have up to 4 people watch it at a time, and 7, and hopefully Disney Plus isn't listening right now. And you can watch from your house. And I'm like, are you sure? Because it seems like Disney would really be on that. But I think they're like Netflix. Like, there's that meme going around that there's only 6 Netflix subscriptions because everybody shares their shit.
Yeah.
So...
No, I even looked that up like right away. I was like, how many people could be on it? It said 4 at the same time. 4 people could be streaming at the same time, but you could have 7 people. Yeah. And I was like, damn. Yeah. All right.
I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. So then me and the wife get it, right? I'm like, honey, we got this. I don't know. We'll check it out. So I'm going through it. I'm showing her. I go, oh, honey, look, I know we love animals. So I go, honey, look, there's a live action Lady and the Tramp. And she's like, I thought that was coming to the theaters. I go, I guess not. She goes, well, we'll watch that. I said, okay. So we watch that. She's like, oh my God, that was so good. Like, after watching it like a couple times, like, that was really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then a little bit later, that's a really good movie. I go, yeah, I know.
Nice.
I go, it was. And then I'm watching Mandalorian, and she's sleeping, and then she wakes up, and she goes, well, what do you want to watch now? And I'm like, I don't know. And we start to watch Aristocats, and we didn't finish it. And then the next day, I'm in the living room watching Mandalorian on my 75-inch Glory, and I'm like, oh, man. And I'm like, honey.
Did you name it Glory?
I go, no, but that should be the name.
Like,
thank you.
Like, this is the name of my TV. It's Glory.
This is Glory. You want to come and watch Glory? And they're like, no. Is that your dick?
They're like, I've seen that
yeah,
that movie
it's not
with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
No,
I thought you were going to say my penis. They'd be like, it's not Glory. It's baby Glory. So then the next day or 2 days later, whatever, my day off, we're eating dinner in the living room, and she's like, I go, you want to watch that Noelle movie? She goes, yeah. So we watch Noelle. Takes place here in Arizona, like Desert Ridge Marketplace. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. I'm like, I think that part was in a set, but this part was really there. Anyway, so we watch it, and it's about Santa leaves. Santa dies. The son takes over. Son doesn't really want to be Santa. Noelle has to hunt him down because he went to Phoenix to relax because he doesn't like the cold.
Nice. It's like, screw this.
Yeah. So anyway, so we watch that, and that's another one. She goes, that's a really good movie. And I go, yeah, it was. And then a little bit later, I really like that movie. I go, I know. And now I notice through my days off, like in the middle of stuff, instead of going like she would usually go to, here lately, she goes directly to the Roku channel, and we watch Growing Pains because they have all the seasons of Growing Pains. And we saw Brad Pitt on there and Matthew Perry. And so she's like, so now all of a sudden it's like, boom, Disney Plus comes up, and she's watching The Simpsons. Because I'm like, what are you watching? And she goes, nothing. and then I see it's The Simpsons, and it's it's the reindeer, the reindeer Santa's Little Helper episode, and I'm like, oh, okay. And now she was watching The Simpsons when I plugged in here, and she was like, well, now you fucked up my internet. Now I got to watch Netflix. So she watched Step Brothers, which is always fucking good. I don't know if you love Step Brothers, but
I like it.
Quotable lines.
I love it. Like, I like it more than I did back when I first watched it. I think when I first watched it, I was in a mood or something, and I was just like, "This is stupid." And then later on, I was like, "Wow, this is genius."
I think that happened to you with Big Lebowski, where you were like, "I watched Big Lebowski. It was lame. I didn't get it. Whatever." And I'm like, "Dude, it's so like deep and clever and fun." And then, so yeah, you should go see that.
Well, I think it didn't help that we worked at a 24-hour video store, and I would go home with like 6 fucking movies.
Yeah.
And then the first movie's, oh, these are awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, you're just like, I'm tired. And it just affected your overall view of what movie you were watching. So.
Yeah. So, before I go, well, exactly. Also you're just like me. Sometimes I'm like trying to get through these movies that I've never seen. Sometimes I'm like, why am I watching? I should watch something else. But something else that was, I don't want to go too long because we've already been going long. But so Mandalorian. So I said, okay, I'm going to watch this. I watched it. I was like, that was really cool. Like, I really like it. And then, of course, there's a Nerdist thing like, did you see Boba Fett in the background in the shadows and they're like, it wasn't Boba Fett. And maybe it went here's, and then they explain all the continuity shit, and you're like, I don't care. But it made me click on it, made me watch a 6-minute video of nothing. So,
yeah, exactly.
So then the other day, I thought it would be every week. All of a sudden the other day, Joe Merle's like, I'm watching the second, Mandalorian. I'm like, what the fuck? It's out now? He's like, yeah. So I watch it. And there was a scene in there that made me feel, I was telling you about it, but you hadn't seen it yet. It made me feel, I can't explain it. It made me feel like home. It made me feel like comforted, like old school, either Disney things from Sunday night when you would watch the Disney movie, or just like the Ewoks, that old Ewok show that they did, like those two movies, like something that just made you. And it was just a small part. It was Nick Nolte. Sorry, I don't know his name. Nick Nolte. In the little thing, in that little sled, and he's waiting for, he's like, he finally comes back, Mandalorian finally comes back, and he's like, it's about time. It was just that little thing, like all of a sudden I'm like, for some reason that felt like their family or something, and like, I just felt really warm, like I was like, oh man, that's so nice. Like, oh, so good.
It kind of felt like almost like a father-son moment. Of a situation where it's like waiting for him to get back, type of a thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of, like, no, he'll be here. I promise, he'll be here.
Yeah.
Oh, there he's about time.
Yeah. Which you knew still. You were like, they're not going to get that door all the way up. He's going to show up, of course. But then, that whatever it was, it just made me go, oh, that's very sweet.
Well, and I'd only seen the first Mandalorian, right? Mm-hmm. And I understood when everybody was like, yeah, it feels like, Wild West type of a feel. It's awesome, Western type thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's honestly the way it is. But then I heard people had seen the second episode. I hadn't seen it yet. Mm-hmm. And they came right out and said that this is what they've been waiting for since Jedi, period. Mm-hmm. Like everything else that came after it was just kind of Star Wars filler, fun time, whatever. But that the feel that they remember from watching the original 3 movies, that seeing this second episode with the Jawas and everything and all that going on.
The original 3, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, and Revenge of the Sith, those original 3. Go, blasphemy. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, the original, to feel that, like, which was weird for me because I'm sitting here going, I'm watching it going, okay, I understand that. It feels like a Star Wars, like it really feels like it, because you remember your first experience of Star Wars was with, that type of a feel, the desert type of, world and everything, and the Utini, thing going on. But then I'm sitting here going, little things start popping in my head, being an adult, going, their eyes are different color. I wonder if they're a different faction of You know,
right, yeah.
I
was thinking like, where's that?
They're red. You know, are they bad Jawas? Are they more dark side Jawas? Like weird stuff's going through my head, and I'm saying it out loud, and my wife's looking at me like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?"
Yeah. I was like,
oh, I'm nerdy.
Remember they had like that 5-foot Jawa in New Hope, and you're like, that guy's a big Jawa. Like they're all bringing out the droids, and there's this one guy who's like pretty tall, and I was like, they should have just thrown him in there just for like, see, there's other tall Jawas. Nobody said they all had to be small. Here's another one, you know. So, but yeah, it was great. I can't wait for the third one. And then, not to jump off of that, did you guys watch Lady and the Tramp? Because then I saw Lady and the Tramp is when I put that. Then we saw Jack Ryan season 2. We finally watched, which is really good. I liked it a lot.
I haven't finished the season. I started it. But
season 2?
Yeah. But I do love where they're going with him being more like, you know, he's the one that's like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because of what happened in the beginning. And everybody's like, sure, okay, whatever you want. Like, getting out of his way. Like, he's the boss.
Well, and there's a cool part at the end, but that kind of more explains, like, oh, like, this is why you do what you do, and this is why I do it. Like, really cool.
Yes. Okay, sweet.
And then again, another one. My wife's like, I'm taking a bath because I'm a big girl. Coming out of the bath, and my wife's watching Zootopia.
Oh, wait.
I'm like, okay.
You're not a big girl. You're fancy.
Oh, okay. I'm a fancy lady.
Yeah. Fancy lad.
Okay. That's right. So then, so she's watching Zootopia, and I'm like, honey, I've heard that this is good. I've never seen it, you know. And so she's like, okay. So she's watching it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, that was cool. And again, she was like, that was a good movie. It was fun. Little rabbit that becomes a cop. And that was cool. And then we own Who Framed Roger Rabbit on Blu-ray. But she was like, oh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? So, because I had to add all the stuff for her, so I put all the stuff she would want. And then put that up there, and we start watching that. And I'm like, it's been a while since I've seen this. Like, Bob Hoskins is fucking great. Like, acting to nothing. Like, you know, better than Natalie Portman. And in Star Wars, everybody's going, but she was in Jackie. She played Jackie Kennedy. I don't know. But it was really, and then so halfway through that, we're watching, you know, it starts out with the Roger Rabbit cartoon, and I go, oh, and I always loved, they had it on there, they had it, which is part of the movie. Then they did it in Dick Tracy. At the beginning of Dick Tracy had the really good cartoon. It was really funny, really cool. And then they did it in another movie, and I can't remember, but they did 3 times. They did 3 cartoons. And so all of a sudden, while we're watching it, like, she's just like, do we own Dick Tracy? And I'm thinking, like, I've been thinking of Dick Tracy for so long. I'm like, but that's one of those, do I want to pull the trigger and buy it? Because I'll watch it once, and I'll be like, eh. But still, I should own it. It was poppy and colorful and cool, and Al Pacino. And
it makes me wonder where that kid is now.
And Mumbles. Yeah, I need to look him up.
Did like 3 or 4 different big movies and then disappeared.
Because, well, remember the other kid from Terminator 2, the red-haired kid that was he was from Different Strokes. Remember that red-haired kid? Anyway, but yeah, the kid from Hook and the kid from, whatchamacallit?
What About Bob?
What About Bob? Which we own on Blu-ray. I'm going to watch that someday. I mean, I've seen it, but loosely, like while I'm doing other shit. So I need to focus on it. So she buys Dick Tracy. So we got that yesterday. So I can't wait for my days off to start so I can fucking watch Dick Tracy. Like, I'm so excited. Sweet. And then the Apple Dumpling Gang from 1975. Now, you and I talked about this, about how I was excited. I'm like, I love the Apple Dumpling Gang. I remember going to a special thing for kids that you would go to the Valley West Mall and you would watch these movies that were a little older. So maybe it's 5 years later or 3 years later, whatever, and you're watching these movies. And I remember it being really funny, and I love Tim Conway and Don Knotts because I'm a young kid who likes old comedians because I'm out of my time, I guess. And so I'm like, man, I love these guys. And I watched this movie, and I'm like, oh, my God. Like, first of all, Bill Bixby's in it. That's cool. And that other girl, I can't think of her name, Trapper John girl. But it was fun, but they were only in it for little bits, and I thought that they were in it for longer. But they're just trying to steal stuff and trying to, make money. And then the second one might have them in it more, but it just didn't hold up as well. But I'll still watch the sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, now it makes me wonder though, because I wonder if maybe the sequel, they got feedback from people and they're like, they need to be in it more, and maybe you'll see more of them.
Right. People come to see. Yeah, they come to see Don Knotts and Tim Conway, and there's nothing. Yeah. Then now we're on to Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which was really cool and different because he had killed all the children. He needed new children, and so he sent this kid over, and this kid got picked up at some reform school type thing, and then he's trying to tell everybody like, no, there's this guy and he's after me and he's got claws, and they're like, whatever, and then all of a sudden Freddy's there, and then they're like, oh my God, that guy, and it's got Breckenmeyer in it. And there's a girl on there that, of course, oh my God, Freddy I'm his son. That's what was called. The kid's like, I'm his son. That's why he wants me. And he's talking to Freddy, and he's like, I'm your son. That's why you won't kill me. And he's like, no, you fucking fool. Ching, ching, ching. And,
nice.
And he's like, no, it was a daughter, whatever. And they always show those flashbacks, which was cool, of her seeing him the mom came downstairs and saw his torture chamber, and she comes up and she's like, Fred, I'm sorry, I won't tell anybody. And that's what the girl remembers. I won't tell anyone. And then all of a sudden it cuts to like him following her, and he's like beating her head into a tree, the mother, his wife. And the little girl's just like, she just came out of the torture chamber from seeing something, and she's looking, and she's just like, I won't tell anyone, like, and he's just like, okay. And you're like, holy shit, like, this is Fred Krueger. This is not, Yeah. And then it goes into, and then that was the one where they had, when you saw it in the theater, you put on the 3D glasses and they had all the cool stuff. And I remember seeing that in the theater. It was so cool. You're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And I killed him with his own gloves. So it was cool. Spoilers. And then after that,
after you say it, spoilers.
Yeah, of course. Well, Joe Merle did that last night, IHOH podcast. He's talking about The Witch. Remember that movie, The Witches, with that director's daughter, Angelica Houston? She was in it. And he was like, oh, The Witches, they were doing a witch episode. And he was like, The Witches is so good. And I'm thinking, I haven't seen it. And he's going, da-da-da. And then he goes, and the transformations are really cool. Spoilers, they did this thing where they transformed this kid into a mouse, and I'm like, wait. And he's like, but it's really cool. And then it was, and then it was another part where it was witches dance. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was it was part of The Witches, but on The Witch, the movie The Witch, it came out in like 2015. He was like, and then they all get naked and they're dancing, all the witches are dancing around in a circle, and I'm like, but he said, spoilers. Like, I'm like, wait, I can't pause it. But I'm like, oh well. But New Nightmare was the one where it's like meta, where it's like her, or like Wes Craven. It was really cool. He walks her over to the computer while he's talking to her, and he's like, I'm working on the script right now, and all the words are, I'm working on the script right now. Fade to black, and then it fades to black, and you're like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yep.
And Freddy had like the different face, and he had like the more organic glove where it was bones and shit, and he was wearing like the trench coat, and so cool.
Well, that was, I think, I love the idea of that, because I just loved that it kind of gave you this weird feel of behind the scenes of the movie, but not like it was incorporated into the movie. And I was just like, that just, I don't know, it just made you feel part of it.
Well, it was that part when she's in the interview in front of those people, and the guy's like, so do you talk to Freddy? And she's like, you mean Robert? Like, yeah, I talked to Robert. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, we talk. And the guy's like, would you let him watch your children? Let him watch your child? And she's like, I guess. I don't know why I wouldn't. Well, let's bring him out. And all of a sudden, here comes Robert, but he's dressed as Freddy Krueger, and everybody's going crazy. And she's kind of freaking out because her son's having those weird dreams. And all of a sudden, it's like, and then later he's like, are you okay? Now he's in his cool glasses, and he's just dressed like Robert. And he's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And he's like, I didn't mean to surprise you, but I just thought it'd be cool. And then he tells her about the thing that Wes Craven's writing. And she's like, what? And then she goes and talks to Wes Craven. Oh, so cool. But and then it's all that people believe, and then that'll bring Freddie back, and it's like holy shit. And it was just cool to bring her back, and just all that stuff. So cool. We're almost done with my list before you fall asleep, or you're like, I got to get to my game and hurry up and finish recording.
No, I wrote a few things down.
So we saw, you and I talked about this the other day, and then you were like, you should have fucking saved it for the show. So I saw Chips the other day. Chips is on Vudu with commercials, and I liked it. I went to the theater and saw it. I like Dax Shepard, but I like Chips the show.
Yeah.
And so I was like, honey, let's watch it. And I like Vincent D'Onofrio. And we saw it, and it was actually good. You know, you thought, oh, is this going to be like a Starsky and Hutch? Not as good, but it was better than Starsky and Hutch, and it was funny and had action and stuff. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So we watched that the other day, and my wife, she remembered it. She was like, oh, yeah. You were telling me that you had just recently seen it like a month ago or whatever, or less than.
Yeah, when we first moved here.
Yeah.
We watched it, and the scene where they're basically in their underwear bumping like penises or whatever. Yeah. And my wife was like, no, can't look at that, and went to the bathroom. And so her best friend like rewound it at one point and actually like did a boomerang loop of it on her phone to send it to her, but also like had it rewound to that point to where when she came back from the bathroom, she started it back up. Like, damn it, screw you guys. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Great. Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, where Michael Pena's like, no. And he's like, oh, you're homophobic. I get it. That's okay. And then that guy comes over, hey, man. And they're hugging, and you're like, oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, so funny. So then I watched the best movie of 1986, Cobra. Not really the best movie.
Yeah.
I said, on Vudu, they Marion Cobretti. On Vudu, they had that with commercials. So I was like, honey, you ever seen Cobra? She's like, no. I was like, you want to watch it? She's like, yeah, sure. So I'm watching. I'm like, look how cool. I'm going to get a match, and I'm going to carry a match in my mouth. I'm going to be like that. She's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, look how cool he is. I'm like, look at that gun. Isn't that gun cool? And I'm like, and when you watch these 80s movies, you're like, oh, my God, product placement, like big time. Like he stops by that thing. There's a Coors there. He opens the Coors, drinks the Coors while he's leaning against a big Pepsi display, or the Pepsi display gets shot up and the can gets shot up. And it's just like, oh, my God. And then there's the bad guys try to attack him in his house, in his apartment. And there's a big giant Pepsi, like, lit up neon, like, huge. And it's like, oh, my God, come on. But
it's almost as bad as Demolition Man when they were doing the
Taco Bell
fast food wars. Yeah, Taco Bell won the fast food wars. They're like, what the hell?
The thing with Cobra, though, that I was surprised at was all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, they're already done. Like the show's like they're going to the steel mill to go fight now. Like this is the ending. I'm like, that kind of rushed through, kind of went quick. It was kind of cool. But it was a thing where also I was reading the little trivia. Of course, it was IMDb trivia, so who knows what it was, but if it was true or not. But it had, they said that knife, Stallone or whoever came and said, I want that knife to look like vicious, where it's memorable, where you remember that knife. And so he was like, okay, so the guy made that knife, and you remember that knife. When you see it, it's got little things on the grip, and then it's like made almost like a meat cleaver, and it's like, oh. Yeah. And then that guy being a bad guy was like, he was trying to get like, what am I playing? And nobody would tell him much. And then also I heard that Stallone was I've heard this from a girl who I knew who actually did acting, said Stallone's an asshole. Mm-hmm. And they said Stallone didn't want to be talked to, like, at all. Wow. And it was like, oh my God. She was telling me how they were behind the scenes of, he was doing Copland, and she was walking by with a friend of hers who's another actress who was like good looking. And he was like, how you doing? Like, like really like trying to be like a horn dog, like creep. And she was just like, whatever. And so I said, but I was talking about like Cliffhanger. I said, can't you love Cliffhanger? She's like, no, because I see that asshole. I can't take my mind out of it to do that. She said, I just, she's met some nice people, but same thing with, she was up for the part of in Nowhere to Hide. She was up for the part of Jean-Claude's, the girl of Roseanne Arquette.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she's like, I'm sitting there. She goes, Jean-Claude comes in, spins a fucking chair around. So he's like straddling it like, some cool dude. like, and so he's leaning on the back of the chair.
The kid in class trying to be
And
cool.
yeah. And then they're talking and he said something like, I wouldn't be with this woman. Like she's too ugly or something, pretty much said that like to her face. Like she's not, and they were like, okay. So they went with Roseanne Arquette and she's like, I'm glad they did. Cause I don't want to fucking act across from that guy. She goes, I was just trying to keep my SAG card so I could do these other things. And it was just like, she's like, he was a total like dick. Like, and I was like, yeah, that's what happens I think that's what happened with Bruce Willis when he reached out to Kevin Smith. I think he realized he had gotten so big at this moment that he needed to, bring himself down. And when he hears Kevin Smith go, I love fucking Moonlighting and I love Die Hard and I'm with this guy. And then I'm like, look, they just said yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And he's like, yeah, I hate it. I don't, and it's like, but same thing in a way happened to, speaking of Chips, it's weird how this works. Punch from Chips, Eric Estrada, was like, so tired of that role, and he was in, granted it was a reality show, but he was in that reality house with Rob Van Dam, Vanilla Ice, and Vanilla Ice went in and tore down, I pulled that name, but I can't fucking think of Vincent Price, he had the, the Campbell soup thing that guy did, because now I drew a blank on his name, the artist, but it was all of Rob. It was who? Warhol, Andy Warhol. So it was a thing of all Van Damme with his weird hair when he was Vanilla Ice, and Rob Van Dam. And so he tears that down, and he breaks it up, and he gets real pissed, and he's fucking trying to destroy it. And they're just like, whoa, what's going on? So then later he's really like crying. I believe this was a real moment. He was crying, and Eric Estrada's like, do you think that I want to be the guy in the tight biker pants driving my little motorcycle? No, but that's what made me, and that's what my fans love, and that's what I came to love, was that they love it, and that's something that I did that means something to somebody. And he goes, that's what that means to those people. And that's where, if you become a dick, then, it's like, I still can't understand how Justin Bieber is famous, because he's mean to his fans. He doesn't give a shit. And it's like, how does he have any kind of support? Like, everybody should turn their back on that guy.
Yep.
But anyway, Cobra's pretty good. It's on Vudu. It's not great, but it was good. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, I know you're not big into comedy stuff, but on Netflix, there is Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones. Have you heard about all this controversy that this thing brought?
I've seen a little bit, like little memes and stuff, but I haven't really read deep into it.
It is, any good art like does that, like twists something, makes you go, oh. And it's comedy. He's a comedian. He's telling stories. So, but this one is like the best of all the ones that have been on Netflix. This one's the best. Like, I was cracking up. It had like, he's talking about if Michael Jackson, this is just to paraphrase it because I can't do the joke justice. He goes, I don't think Michael Jackson molested those kids. He said, Macaulay Culkin said he never got touched. He said, I'm not a child molester, but I see Macaulay Culkin. He's looking pretty good. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, little boy. So it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's just, but anyway, it's all kinds of, makes fun of the suicide of that guy, the guy that cooks and travels around that committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Everybody's screaming his name. I don't know.
Epstein.
It's on the tip of my tongue. No, not that guy. That guy wasn't a chef. The guy that was a chef, Anthony Bourdain. Chef. Anthony Bourdain.
Bourdain, that's what it was. I'm like thinking, first thing I think of is somebody that they said committed suicide.
Right. Yeah. You mean the murder? You mean the, hey, can you give me a cup of coffee? Oh, the guy died. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking. He must have hung himself with a rock in his face. So anyway, what you said, you wrote some stuff down. What did you write down?
Oh yeah. So apparently it was the 2-year anniversary of the whole everybody trying to get the Snyder Cut thing or whatever.
Oh,
Have you heard about
really?
that?
It's been 2 years already. Yeah, I've heard that people keep pushing for it, and it's like,
Well, because of the anniversary, their plan was to do the hashtag release the Snyder Cut and to get it to where it was like all over the world, where it was like the number one trending thing. And they did it.
Yeah.
Oh, they did it. And it also brought in, for the first time ever,
yeah.
Godot and Affleck were supporting it too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what that's going to do for the trajectory that DC is trying to go towards anyway.
Yeah.
Because now they have J.J. Abrams, who just
Oh, do
signed a
they? Oh, I
huge
didn't know
deal.
that. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically, him and Bad Robot, they basically, the whole company has signed over, and everybody's expecting, because he's kind of hinted at it, that the whole point of it is for him to fix DC. Like, he already does TV stuff,
Yeah.
so his company has signed on to do like new IPs, which they do all the time for different, but they're now going to be exclusive to Warner Brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
So of course we're going to probably see some stuff on regular Warner TV type stuff or whatever, and make money off that.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I've read where they were like, it's very possible that he's going to be able to pull off the Superman that he wants to pull off, because he actually wrote a script in 2000, 2001 area or whatever. He had a script written that he had done that he wanted to do as a movie, and it just never happened.
Oh, wow.
So he's obviously a fan of DC and wants to get stuff done. And the first thing apparently he had said, or whether it be behind closed doors and it was just a leak or whatever, there was that he wants to tackle Superman and the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh, cool.
Those are the things he wants to do.
Yeah.
So with that, it's kind of hard for, if they release the Snyder Cut, what direction can this go? Because they're already doing Batman. It's a totally different Batman.
Yeah.
Affleck can't be that person anymore.
Yeah.
If they would have jumped on it right away, they could have done the Flashpoint movie.
Yeah.
Because then the Flash could have went back, saved his mom from dying. It could have changed everything to where Thomas Wayne was the Batman.
Yeah.
And everything. And then he's like, oh man, what have I done? Goes back and fixes it. But when he fixes it, they could have had it where at the beginning of the movie was Affleck.
Yeah.
Just sign him on to do just the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, it's
Robert
Pattinson.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, like everything has changed. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But now, if they release the Snyder Cut, what
Yeah.
what is that going to do? It could release and let everybody know the direction they were going to go with Darkseid and everything.
Well, and I think it'd have to be just here's the thing. Don't invest in it. This is like one of the DC animated movies. This is just itself. It's by itself. There it is. Boom. But imagine you're J.J. Abrams and you want to go in there and be like, look, I've been at Disney. I've seen kind of some things. I can't talk about these things, but here's what we need to do. And just tear all the whiteboards down and be like, here's what we're going to do, But then that's what they thought with Joss Whedon when he went in there. They were like, he's going to fix everything. And it was nope. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, obviously they don't learn, because Joss Whedon didn't do all too well with the second Avengers movie. He basically cut and pasted the first one and just switched out the bad guy.
Yeah.
And switched out who dies and stuff. Yeah. Okay. No skill whatsoever in that aspect of doing the sequel. But my worst fear, though, is that I'm hearing now that it's very possible that the first X-Men tie-in movie is going to be done by Joss Whedon.
Ugh. Yeah. Look, get the child molester back. the what's that guy's name? Usual Suspects dude, Bryan Singer. Get him. I don't know. I don't really know, but I know. I suspect. I can't say so don't sue me. I'm just saying what I feel. But get him back to do it, or get somebody,
Well, see, and I have personal feelings about that. I don't want Bryan Singer to come back to do anything, because he already screwed up the continuity of what the X-Men were. Like the fact that you got Iceman and Rogue having a relationship, when technically in the comic books, Iceman was one of the original X-Men, and Rogue would have been this little teenage girl that he was having underage sex with. That would be like, I'm like sitting here going, this is not right. They're not supposed to be the same age. And I was like freaking out when I saw the first X-Men movie. So, I'm not happy about that.
No, that's true. That's true. But I was just thinking of somebody who's done good, with what he did. But yeah, it's like, get somebody who's a real fan. Don't get somebody who's going to do
justice.
Do it right, and do it like full on, like, start out, like I said, as stupid as it would be, but just to pay that little bit to the 60s X-Men, like show Iceman as a snowman and be like, there's Iceman, and then have him be like, I'm kidding, here's me, But yeah.
Learn his actual powers and realize what he's
well, and like we said, like I was talking to that other guy, and then I got into you about it, but if you don't know about the X-Men, like, Iceman's a Omega 5. Like, he's like heavy duty strong. Like, have those Omega 5s do some Omega 5 shit. Like, come on, show me something. You need a Hulkbuster armor to fucking take Iceman down.
Well, and I've always loved the way Marvel was, and I love the way the X-Men were, because of the fact that they were based around, it was all about, people being prejudiced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was, the way that they treated the mutants, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious that these mutants are damaged, that they're psychologically, they're affected by how they're being treated. So that's why Iceman couldn't use his powers to the full effect of his abilities. And he got pissed off when Emma Frost, the White Witch, took over his body. And all of a sudden he had spikes of ice shooting out of his back. And he's like, how'd you do that? And he was so mad because he was basically incapable of doing it because he didn't believe in himself. And all of a sudden it was like a psychological hang-up that he had. Yeah. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Well, it's like, it's as silly as it was, that first, the X-Men First Class, when that kid's trying to do the heat and he can't do it. And he's like, I can't. And then finally he does it. And you're like, holy shit, But that's the cool moments when, like I talked on my last show, The Incredibles. Like, I love when she's like, hurry up, Violet, put a force field around the plane. And she's like, and it's going zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah. And it won't. And she's like, she just runs back there and grabs her. And then later's like, I'm sorry that I forced you to do that. And it's like, oh my God, it's so sweet. And then when the girl actually does it, and her brother's like, what are you doing? I don't know. How are you doing that? I don't know. Well, keep doing it. And, it's so cool. Anyway, what else you got?
So my wife is adamant that we will not see Charlie's Angels because she hates What's-Her-Face with a passion.
She's looking good, though. I told my wife, I go, she's actually looking good. And my wife's like, yeah, but I go, no, I know she's still probably nutbag, but she looks good.
And it's never really been about nutbag. It's about, like, she can't act worth a shit.
Well, right.
What my wife was saying, like, she's like just standing there. She doesn't do anything. And I'm watching trailers. I'm like, she's actually acting in this. Like, she's like playing the part good. And she's like, I don't care. I can't deal with it.
You're like, I'm gonna go see it. Yeah.
Well, and then I look and they're talking about all these reviews, and most of the reviews are pretty much people saying that the person that's reviewing it is gay. And they're in love with her, or they're willing to go gay because of how she looked in the movie. Yeah. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, what am I reading? It's just a whole bunch of reviews about her being amazing, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the last one that I'm excited about. I haven't watched Joker yet.
It's a Garfield 2. Is it another Bill Murray Garfield? Is that what you're excited about? Yeah.
Yep. No. You've seen the Joker movie.
You have not seen the Joker.
No.
Dude, mental illness runs through you. Like, you should. No.
Wait.
No. No, the Joker's really good. I was just listening to an old podcast of somebody, and they were like, I don't know about this Joker movie. I'm going to go see it, but I don't know. And I'm like, oh, my God. It was one of those where my wife's like we said, like, it doesn't have to be the Joker. It could be about anybody, but it kind of it's a Joker, so it works, but it's just mental illness. Like, it brings that all out to light, and it's so good. So good.
Well, and my thing is that I know from hearing how good it is, right?
Right.
Haven't seen it yet, but when The Rock had posted an actual a release date for Black Adam
Mm-hmm.
and all that. Well, he also had mentioned in an interview that they got the DP for Joker
Mm-hmm.
for the Black Adam movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually like, well, that's good. Like
Yeah,
if he said,
it's gonna look cool. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
We need to get the director of photography over here.
yeah.
Still using the same director from the Jungle movie thing.
Oh, Jungle Cruise. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same director for that. But yeah, the Joker DP is coming over.
Well, and
so.
if they do Black Adam like they did Shazam, make it fun. Like that's what they need to do. Don't, it's like you and I said when Superman came out, Man of Steel, I wanted this is why I do like Bryan Singer. Forget about what I said about the child molester. Bryan Singer did Superman Returns. People hated it, but that had all the feelers. And he even got like Brandon Routh, like he looks like Christopher Reeve. He stumbles, he trips, he's clumsy. He's a big, tall, goofy person. That's my Superman. And when on Man of Steel, I was waiting and waiting for either a little bit of John Williams music to pop in there or some kind of heroic, big, great theme. And all it was like just down, like, all the fights were cool, but it's like, show us some like dun dun dun,
Well, and that was my thing. Is I was hoping for the best from him as far as being the new Superman, but he showed no personality. At all.
Yeah.
Like it was seriously so bad. Like he just barely even smiled.
Well, and I wonder if from that though it came with Bryan Singer just going, we just want Christopher Reeve, just be this like don't be yourself, just be a replica of this thing. And that's what actors hate. Like, no, don't tell me what lines to say. Don't, that'd be like back to finish it off with, be like going to Brad Pitt and going, no, don't say I'll fucking kill you, man. Just say I'll fucking hurt you bad, man. Like say that'd be cool. And no, it don't work.
No, I think that because if you look at Brandon Routh now being on the CW playing, the Atom and everything, he's still that guy. It's actually who he is, when he's playing the character.
Yeah.
He's still the kind of the goofy type of dude.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it is. But now they're doing. He's finishing up. He's not like he did his last scene. He's not working on CW stuff anymore. But for the crossover Crisis
on Infinite Earths,
that they're doing, he's playing Superman. He's actually the Superman from Kingdom Come.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
and he's got the costume and the gray in his hair, and he's playing that part. He gets to play Superman one more time, and then it's done.
Aren't they also getting Tom Welling?
Yeah, but it's like they said it's only like a quick scene, it's only for one scene, and I think he's only playing Clark. He's not actually going to be in a Superman.
Poor
costume.
fucking guy. He was in the Superman suit for 2 minutes at the end of the fucking movie, and you only saw. And where'd he go? I think I saw him. Yeah.
Well, and it was stupid because the contract stuff that they got, he wasn't actually supposed to really be seen, like other than flying off type of a thing. You weren't supposed to see him. Yeah. So they were only allowed to show what looked like him wearing the costume, the chest part. The rest was CG.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember that where it was like, but I think, I don't think even, because I listened to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, I don't think he was approached at all to do a Luthor.
He was.
He was? Oh.
But they wouldn't give him any specifics. They're basically good at like no pay. They couldn't. Yeah, if he released something on like Twitter or whatever as an explanation, and he was like, "You expect me to just show up on these couple days? I have no clue how many scenes I have.
I'm invested in this character. Yeah.
And just the same thing they did to Tom Welling. Tom Welling they're saying one quick scene. He's just kind of standing there. Yay.
Yeah.
Like says it maybe a couple lines from what I hear, and that's it. He's not even dressed as Superman to do anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's where on another thing. So I shared this thing on Instagram of my Dick Tracy that came in, and somebody wrote that Warren Beatty owns the rights to Dick Tracy, and will not release them for anybody to do a sequel or do any remake or anything.
Oh wow.
So it's like. It's like that's one where, you know, it goes with kind of what we were saying, which is I care about, you know, I care about Lex Luthor. I care about Superman. So I'm not just going to do, like, I played this character for 8 years. I'm not just going to do something stupid that you want me to do. I don't feel that that's right. You know, get Gene Hackman out of retirement. He'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish. But, all right. I guess that's it. Now I got to edit this thing down. We ran for an hour and 36 minutes, but a lot of it was talking before that. But, yeah. Well, hopefully it was enjoyable. I hope I didn't bore anybody with my fucking talk of Freddy Krueger.
No, I think it was just the old movies.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Renfield. That's right. All right. Well, until next time, I'm Philip, and until whenever,
I'm Chip.
yay. Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.